Hello everyone and welcome back guys to a brand new video where today we're here back for round 19 of season 3 of our F1 2020 My Team Career Mode where we head to the US Grand Prix. Obviously if you missed out on the last one that went live a couple of days ago from Japan, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. We had a very close finish with our championship rival and teammate George Russell. Obviously there will be spoilers in just a moment, so if you don't want those, click away. Obviously go back and watch that video before diving into this one. But some big news as we head in towards the final few rounds of the year. Our team vote is available for Season 4. I'm just going to be pushing it until the Brazilian Grand Prix. Obviously, if you want to go vote on that, head over to the community tab on our channel and you can go vote for one of 4 drivers who are in the running to be our teammate ready for the new season. But as well, heading into this weekend though, we are probably going to have to take some engine penalties. Not quite what I wanted to have to do at this late on in the season, but looking at it, oh no, we might just be able to get away with using the old energy store this weekend, so we're going to go with that. But before the end of the year, we are going to need to take probably a couple of penalties from engine wear as well. You can see a lot of parts getting rather worn out at this late stage of the year there. But championship-wise, though, the gap is now down to just 15 points between myself and George Russell with 4 races to go of the year. There's 743 points, as one of you guys pointed out in the last video. If George and I were by ourselves, we'd still both be winning the Constructors' Championship individually. Just goes to show how dominant this car has been over the course of this year. But anyway, let's dive in then. Round 19 of the season, 4 to go here at COTA. So heading in then to the US Grand Prix weekend, as you can see, the paint scheme has changed up once again. I mentioned it all the way back at the Belgian Grand Prix where we started using the N Races and paint scheme. I want to use that and this We Races 1 paint before the end of the year. So we used that one for 4 races. We're going to use this one for the final 4 races of the year as well. Like I said, in that Belgian Grand Prix, if you don't like it, then this probably isn't the right channel for you at the end of the day. But yeah, anyway though, heading into COTA, always a track that I do quite enjoy in cars that tend not to be Formula 1 cars. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I seem to find this track a bit more fun in some other cars as well. I've actually got some highlights coming over onto the League Racing channel very soon from an IndyCar race I did around here that was insanely close. So obviously if you don't want to miss out on that one, go check out my Matt212 League Racing channel as well. There'll be links to that all over the channel and down in the description as well. But anyway, more important things to focus on at the moment. Let's see if we can nail some free practice scores. Coming to the end then of our track acclimatization lap, it is hopefully therefore going to be the green score. Yes it is, a little way off the purple, but that's fine. Through the final couple of corners to finish off our tyre wear program then. This one's looking a bit better than the track acclimatization lap. We are going to get the full purple score and almost down to the 1 minute 30s already. But not least then, heading out ready for our qualifying simulation run. The team expecting a target time of 1:28.7. So probably close to 26s then, I'm going to be guessing, are going to be possible in Quali. The Turkey S section is now so easily flat, it doesn't even really feel like much of a corner anymore in qualifying trim. But through the final corner we go then, to finish off our qualifying simulation run. It's a 28-0, sorry, in the end. So maybe, yeah, 26s might be close to possible. Let's dive in then to qualifying here at COTA. Here we are then, qualifying day from the Circuit of the Americas here in Texas. Hopefully we can get a nice clean Q2 lap in. That's an interesting way to start it, leaving a lot of rubber down through the final corner here. But yeah, pace feels okay around this circuit. I think we're more interested in what George Russell is going to be able to achieve over the course of this qualifying session. But the mediums, it reckons, are a fair way slower actually than the soft compounded tyres, so we might need to absolutely nail this lap if we want to get through into Q3 fairly comfortably on this rubber. So we're going to need a nice and tidy one there. You can just see how planted the car is through the first sector there. Right, the curbing on the exit. Obviously, real life track limits sort of in play here on F1 2020. You can push to the limits in a couple of places, and depending on your definition, maybe just a little bit further and beyond around this circuit here. But anyway, out onto the back straight. Speeds upwards of 220 miles an hour still in this car, despite a little bit of higher downforce than we've seen in recent weeks. Stamp on the throttle as you set yourself up for the technical sector 3. Just trying to keep the front end nice and planted as we try to get the car rotated through. A couple of small mistakes on our first run. Hopefully, if we can set maybe a low 28, or maybe even a high 27 if we get it absolutely nailed, we could be looking at a good time as we get ready for Sector 3 there. 2 more corners to go. That's not particularly good. I think that's what you call the IndyCar line through the penultimate corner there. But out of the final turn up towards the finish line, it's going to be a 28.1. So 6/10 of Lewis Hamilton there. But Mercedes have made some gains in recent weeks, so they are a bit closer to us. Hopefully, that's still good enough for Q3. So then Q2 done and dusted here from COTA. Mercedes do seem to be a little bit closer on the pace this weekend. They're 1-2 at the end of Q2. I don't actually know if that's happened at all in this season there, but both myself and George into Q3 on the medium compounded tyres. We should both still be on the front row, but obviously it does depend in what order there. A couple of surprises though. Pierre Gasly doing a good job to get that AlphaTauri into Q3 for the first time in a few race weekends. But yeah, now comes the tricky bit. Can we possibly edge our teammate out for pole position here? He seems to have a few tenths in the bag. Let's see what we can do. Here we go then, ready for our first Q3 run here at the Circuit of the Americas. Hopefully we won't do what we did at Suzuka last time and mess up our first run and make it a one-shot session for ourselves. We do get out onto the lap nice and tightly as we head up the hill in towards turn 1. A very, very peculiar first corner, but a brilliant one nonetheless. Try and get the power down on the exit there. Very, very easy to light up the rear wheels there. I know we've done that on previous games as well as we head now through the S's. Just try and keep it nice and tidy. Clip the apexes where you need to. You can afford to run a little bit wide in a couple of places as long as you try and open up the exits of the corners there. Taking a lot of curb on the exit of the S's, but we have made it out in one piece there. Brake just after the 100-meter board in towards the hairpin. Try to get on the power once again on the exit there. You can see running all over the AstroTurf, trying to open up the exit as best as possible there and get on the power as we head down the back straightaway here. And like I said, speeds upwards of 220 miles an hour. Slam on the brakes once again just after the 100 board there. Actually stopping a little bit earlier than I was expecting, but we get the car rotated in. We're purple so far through Sector 2 as well as we head now down in towards the final couple of corners of this lap. We seem to be losing a lot of time to the AI through Sector 3, so we need to be brave as best as possible here through the Turkey S section. Completely pinned, no worries about that whatsoever. Now just 2 more corners to go. Running just a little bit wide, but nowhere near as bad as our previous lap through the final corner. Up towards the finish line, it's going to be a 27.1. So a fairly good lap, but still we might need a little bit more. Well, I might have said last time out that George Russell 2.0 was a thing at Suzuka. Doesn't seem like he's left as we head here at COTA. He's a second faster than us at the moment. Now, the team only believe there's another 2 tenths in the Delta, so let's just see then what we can muster up. I don't know if that's engine performance as well that we're losing a bit of time through or what here, but we need to try and get one more nailed lap around this circuit, at least so we're close to our teammate here around this track. Maybe there were a couple of hidden mistakes I didn't realise we made on the lap themselves. We'll just have to be brave and take risks on this final run there. We found a little bit of time through Sector 1. That was a much better run through the next couple of corners as well as once again just riding over those sausage curbs as best as possible there. We've been a bit cheeky in Sector 1, but I can't see any other way that George Russell has been able to find that sort of time over us. That's not a particularly good run though. Out onto the back straight, that's going to throw away a lot of time. And there we go, the gap back down to about 0.2 of a second as we head down in towards Sector 3 here. That was a woeful attempt at the hairpin there, braking a little bit early this time, a little bit later, sorry, this time round. Just try and get the car nicely rotated through this final sector. Like I said, this is where we seem to be losing most of our time to George Russell, so maybe I have made some errors that I haven't realised yet. But no, you can see the gap actually coming back down again on our previous lap there, so clearly something is not right this weekend. Either we don't have the pace or the car is a lot more worn out than I realised it was. Much better run through the penultimate corner there. One more turn to go. We are going to improve again, but it's going to be by nowhere near enough. We find 6/10, so we could have got close to George, but definitely don't have the pace to be beating him. George Russell 2.0 is a real thing, and we need to be scared with a few rounds to go this season.
And with qualifying complete, let's review our top three today. Russell, Mr. Monaco, and Charles Leclerc. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
So there we go then, George Russell 1.7 seconds quicker than any other car, obviously avoiding ourselves in qualifying there, but Max Verstappen ahead of Bottas by 1,000th of a second, so Ferrari, we talk about Mercedes being quick this weekend, Ferrari have snuck it away from them right in the dying stages of qualifying there, but it is going to be another 1-2 on the grid for round 19 of the season. We need to get a good start and have a look past George Russell in the first couple of corners there. There was definitely a couple more tenths on the table. Had we not made any errors, we could have possibly, I reckon, got a 26-2 in at the end of qualifying there. But George Russell, he's looking quick once again. Let's dive it in then here for the US Grand Prix.
Here we are then in one of the fastest growing cities in the United States, the fabulous Austin, in the great state of Texas. The circuit itself 14 miles southeast of the city centre and home to the US Grand Prix since 2012. The latest in a long list of iconic tracks to have that honour. We're racing today then in Travis County, Texas, around the 20 corners of the wonderful Circuit of the Americas. We'll be reaching speeds of around 200 miles an hour, and there are plenty of good opportunities to pass, especially through the two DRS zones into turn 1 and the very long back straight into turn 12. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty. Positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. George Russell will begin today's event from pole position, and Mr. Monaco completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Hamilton, Alexander Albon, and Ocon, Gasly, Ricciardo, Sainz, and Kimi Raikkonen. Norris, Leclerc, they've taken a grid penalty. Sergio Perez and Bottas, Stroll, King, Nick de Vries, and Kevin Magnussen. Matsushita, Giovinazzi, Latifi, and Daniel Kvyat completes the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Let's see if we can keep the momentum up. Let's get another podium.
So here we are then on the grid, ready for the US Grand Prix. And actually some big penalties then coming in for the likes of Charles Leclerc and Valtteri Bottas there. Mercedes and Ferrari want to give their drivers every ounce of performance they can towards the end of the year there. And obviously our car's still looking rather quick at the moment as well. The team's saying a two-stop strategy is going to be the way to go here. So we'll wait and see if we can get that altered around this track. It reckons it might be possible then to make the one-stop work here around the Circuit of the Americas. But we need a good start. Doesn't happen often in this series though, I'll be honest. So we're going to underfuel the car by a fair bit as well. 26 laps worth of fuel. But yeah, like I said, we need to try and get up the inside of our teammate George Russell in towards turn 1. We were in the same position though 1 year ago, if you remember. We had to try and get past Valtteri Bottas at the first corner to help our championships, championship hopes. We damaged our front wing in that incident, so hopefully the same doesn't happen again today. We need to try and keep it nice and clean as well, obviously, even more on the line with it being our teammate. But we're ready then, round 19 of the season here from the US Grand Prix. The 5 red lights are coming on now then. It's lights out, and away we go. Hamilton behind us looking feisty off the start, as Russell completely comes across us in towards turn 1 to defend his position there. A lot of contact as everyone tries to make up places off the start. We've actually got a warning for a collision with Verstappen in all of that. No idea where that one happened, but the top two have come out the first couple of corners in the same place that we came into them. Sorry, even I should say there. We are still 1-2 as a team. That is not the line through that next corner there. As you can see, Hamilton, though, up in P3. Obviously, he absolutely loves this track. Has had plenty of success around this circuit as well in the past. As we head now down in towards the hairpin for the first time in this Grand Prix. Russell, though, is looking feisty. We cannot afford to let him break away like we did at Suzuka there. We got very, very lucky we were even able to battle him towards the end of that race. But it seems that, yeah, the energy store that we've swapped out, still not looking very good at the moment here. It's definitely got a bit more damage than we would have wanted there as we head down into Sector 3 for the first time, coming through the Turkey section to finish off lap 1. Even in race trim, it's really not a difficult corner in this car, despite being on medium tyres and with a full tank of fuel there. I'm not really too sure where we appear to be losing all this time in qualifying through that final sector. But yeah, George Russell at the end of that one still leads the way. Hamilton about a second back, Verstappen about 2 seconds back, so everyone is just spreading out a little bit off the start of this race. But yeah, we need to try and keep up with George Russell here around this circuit if we want any chance of winning this race. If we don't, the gap's going to be down to about 7 to 9 points, if I'm not mistaken there. If we do, the gap opens back up to over 20, and that's exactly what we want with 3 races to go of the year there. We just need another couple of strong Grand Prix. We could actually wrap it up before Abu Dhabi, but it really could swing either way at the moment, with the fact you can almost guarantee one of these cars is going to win the race, and the other one is, more often than not, going to finish line astern in P2 there. But Hamilton gets a good run through the first sector there. George just trying to keep it in the 1 second margin so we can get some DRS. Here we go then, lap 3. We have got DRS for the first time in this Grand Prix. We went purple, sorry, I should say, through Sector 1 as well, and we're taking a lot of time out of our teammate George Russell as we head down this back straightaway. Don't really want to take any big risks this early on in the race. I am very conscious as well about how we want to try and keep the tyres in good nick. See if a one-stop race is going to be possible here as we just get a bit of wheel spin out in through Sector 3. But yeah, this corner seems to be one where we're losing a bit of time to our teammate, and obviously, as you can see, with all this being flat out, really just sort of carries on in towards the penultimate corner of the lap. Can we get it right? Yes, we can there, as George Russell actually gets a bit of a wobble on. Really trying to open up this final corner as aggressively as we can there, as we get a little bit of a wobble out of the final turn. Purple lap, though. We are getting a good run on our teammate George Russell as we head down in towards turn 1. Up the inside we go. He tries to turn in, but we made the move work. George Russell, I don't think was expecting that one. And we're now up into the lead of the US Grand Prix. Definitely not done just yet, though. Oh, we got yellow flags out. Oh my god, George Russell's got issues. We've been taking so many gambles this year, but George Russell appears to be dropping to the wayside early on here at the US Grand Prix. I was going to say, heading into this race, I'd love to be able to see what our teammates' engine wears at, but George Russell out of the US Grand Prix. This could have massive championship implications there. In fact, I'm pretty certain it will at the end of the year there, but George Russell out of the US Grand Prix. Surely now, this could be a nice, easy race, and I think that's genuinely the first time ever our teammate has retired on F1 2020 there. We've had one retirement for the team, and now, between Jordan King and George Russell, they've had one as well. George Russell must be heartbroken with that there, but we're just going to stay out, and now things take a very, very good turn for ourselves. End of lap 6 then, the safety car is going to be coming in at the end of this lap here at the US Grand Prix. You can see everyone else very, very tightly bunched behind us. I think pretty much everyone else is on a set of the soft compounded tyres. I don't know why the game isn't allowing us to accelerate. But George Russell then out of this US Grand Prix is not the way he needed his championship charge to go here. He was looking so quick, so in control over the last couple of rounds of this year. We just got past him, and I don't know if that was helped by the fact he clearly had some reliability issues or what, but George Russell then out here at COTA. Hopefully for us, though, we can get to the end of this race. Now, let's just try and bolt out of the final corner. Cold rubber, but we still should be safe from the rest of the field here. You know, we've still got our own strategy. We just don't want to get involved with any of the AI, or at least as few as possible here. A bit of understeer through turn 1 as Hamilton is instantly looking feisty once again, just like we saw at the start of the Grand Prix there. But yeah, only a quarter of the way into this race and already a lot of drama then. Oh, no turning from the fronts there as we head through the S's there. That's certainly a good way to put some heat into the rubber as we head up the hill in through Sector 2. Back end now, getting a little bit loose as well. You can see Hamilton as well getting a bit squirrely behind us, but look at the run he's got down the hill. Lewis Hamilton really trying to apply the pressure here around this US Grand Prix circuit. That's a huge slide, just like we did in qualifying there. We're going to try and break the toe as we head out onto the back straight. You can just see the straight line speed that the Renault power unit gives us as we head down in towards Sector 3 there. Hamilton, no match for us down the straight, and hopefully now, once we've got the tyres up to temperature, which normally takes 2 sectors to a lap, hopefully this is a good sign that we can start to pull away. Coming to the end then of lap 8, and look at that, Hamilton still really trying to apply the pressure, showing his nose at any given opportunity all over the back of us here. We certainly haven't filled up a big enough gap to escape the DRS at the moment, so Hamilton, he senses an opportunity here. Both of our cars, well, George Russell clearly having major reliability issues. We are definitely using a very worn out power unit as well. And obviously, as much as I don't want to get involved with the AI, I also don't want to take any risks as well with that side of things. If we end up both not getting to the end, then we gain absolutely nothing over our teammate George Russell here around this US Grand Prix circuit. But yeah, Hamilton though, still trying to apply the pressure. We do pull away a little bit, but he seems to always get a good run down at the hill there, and he should still just have the DRS. I don't think he'll be close enough, though, to make anything happen with it. As you can just see, heading out onto the back straight, he's going to start making gains, but yeah, Renault Power, who would have thought it, seems to be the way to go. That being said, obviously, of course, if you want your Honda Power to work, you might want to do a few upgrades to it as well. But end of lap 9, Hamilton then, the first of the front runners into the pit lane. Verstappen is going to stay out for another lap here, and I mean, we want to try and get these tyres a good another sort of 6 or 7 laps in this Grand Prix. Raikkonen suddenly up into P3 then. Obviously, he's had some good success around this track in the past, so a lot of the AI in then at the end of lap 9. I think a lot of them are still planning on trying to make the 2-stop strategy work. If the tyres start dying, I'm definitely not going to try and risk a 1-stop for the sake of risking it, because, well, really, now we've got no need to, but let's just see how long they can go. There we go, end of lap 10, Verstappen into the pit lane as well, but I've just realised that George Russell retirement must be an absolute just opening for F1 conspiracy theories. Think, just before the Russian Grand Prix, he announces he's going to be leaving the team at the end of the year, and then, well, owner-driver suddenly gets a bit lucky with the reliability to help his own championship charge after George Russell seemed to be really strong for the last 3 Grand Prix running. Yeah, maybe the conspiracies will read into that a lot more than what's actually happened. Anyway, we've now built up about an 18-second lead out of nowhere, whereas everyone else is into the pits. Verstappen, though, has actually come out ahead of Hamilton here, still up in P5, so we'll monitor the gap to the Ferrari, but I think he's trying to go to the flag now. Reaching the halfway stage then of this Grand Prix, the gap to Verstappen and Hamilton is actually opening up, despite them being on much fresher rubber than ourselves. Maybe it's the fact we've got a car that in qualifying was upwards of 2 seconds a lap faster than the pair of them there. But yeah, halfway through this Grand Prix, the mediums are still hanging on rather nicely. I'll probably try and get them to, yeah, like I said, about the end of lap 17, and then we'll go on to some softs to the end. Hopefully, should be a fairly textbook race, but if we get another safety car, could very much come back to bite us. Coming on to lap 17 then, we are going to dive it in at the end of this lap. These medium tyres have still felt quite good over the last few laps. As you can see, only losing 1/10 of a second through Sector 1 in comparison to our previous best. And I mean, since the pit stop window, we've pulled out nearly 10 seconds over Hamilton and Verstappen, whose hard tyres just don't seem to be graining in the same way there. So when we do pit, we should still be a long way out in front with much quicker rubber to the checkered flag here. The only thing that could ruin this for us is a safety car or reliability issues. So hopefully neither of those things do come up in the latter stages of this race. But yeah, just over 10 to go then. Let's get ready to pit. Here we go then. Ooh. as soon as I talk about getting ready to pit and the tyre's still graining quite nicely. Just get a little bit of a moment as we head in towards the final corner on these medium compounded tyres. They're a nice tidy pit entry, is exactly what we need. Wasn't quite what we got, a little bit of oversteer on the way in, but Hamilton and Verstappen there only just getting into Sector 3. I think we got Lance Stroll or Sergio Perez, I'm not too sure which it is, just heading through the first corner, so we might be able to lap them before the end of this one. But a really tiny 2-second pit stop. Probably, to be honest, one time we didn't really need a particularly great pit stop there, but we'll take it nonetheless. And we're out still comfortably in the lead of this Grand Prix. You can see Hamilton and Verstappen still not even at the final corner yet, as we're already out through turn 1. Now we've got 10 laps to go. See if we can set a couple of fast ones and just get to the flag. Coming then on to lap 19. Let's see if we can set a nice fast lap on this soft compound rubber here. Let's see if we can get a sub 1 minute 30 in this race. We've already got fastest lap still on a 31.1, so I don't think we're going to be under too much pressure for it unless we get one of the midfielders dives in late on and really just tries to absolutely rag their car around to sneak the fastest lap point away. But we'll try and shut that down before the idea even opens up for most of the midfield runners there. As you can see, heading through Sector 1, purple already, running a little bit wide as we head out down the hill in through Sector 2. Braking points just actually a little bit later than you find in qualifying nowadays with this car, where it's just that quick. You just find in qualifying, actually, with the top-end speed, you actually end up finding yourself having to brake a little bit earlier to get the rubber to work where you need it to around this circuit, around most of the tracks, actually, on F1 2020. Dive it down, keep it tidy as we head now into Sector 3. Like I said, often our weakest sector on the track in comparison to the AI so far this weekend. A lot of the times George Russell was pulling away sort of half a second through this sector of the race circuit, but certainly not today. He hasn't been on average there. I must be absolutely gutted for him just watching on the sidelines, knowing there's no one that can really do anything to stop us taking home the race victory here. But one more corner to go then, up towards the start-finish line. Let's see what sort of lap time we've set. It's going to be a 1:28.7. Yeah, that's fairly comfortable. Hopefully that should be good enough. We're already fastest. We've gone 2.5 seconds quicker. Just on to lap 20 though. Let's, like I said, get this thing to the flag. Oh, we got yellow flags out in Sector 1. Nope, they appear to have gone away again. Not too sure what that was all about. Coming to the end of lap 21 then, it appears that the racing point in question is Lance Stroll out of the final corner. He's going to pull out the way of us with just 7 to go here. And yeah, what a disappointing season it's been from Racing Point. They showed such talent and pace during Season 2 of this career mode, F1 2021, if you were. But 2022 has not been a season to remember. They really haven't had any notable performances that I can think of off the top of my head. And I mean, a few of the teams that they beat last year comfortably ahead of them once again. Hopefully next year we'll see a bit of a resurgence of form from the Pink Panthers. More lap traffic just starting to get in the way of us then. You've got Magnussen and Latifi, Haas and Williams, by far and away, by any statistic, the two worst performing teams so far from this series. Magnussen does dive out of the way. Latifi, though, he's going to try and sit in front of us as we head through the Turkey section once again. Now he gets out of the way as we head in towards the final few corners of the lap. Who's that next up? Our old teammate Jordan King has had a couple of decent results for Sauber in the past. I think he's had his best ever Formula 1 result, actually, for Sauber. I think it was, Alfa Romeo, sorry, even I should be calling it. I think it was 5th place in last year's Hungarian Grand Prix. Really was a day to remember for the man who's just jumped around Formula 1 teams in his early years in F1. But yeah, so far, still not looking like a particularly notable driver. Giovinazzi and Matsushita now just in front of us as we head down into Sector 3. Hopefully they'll both get out of the way of us once again. There goes Giovinazzi. Again, another driver that's never really sort of made his mark on Formula 1. Hopefully Matsushita as well will get out of the way. He's never really had a chance to make his mark on Formula 1, just like Nick de Vries. I don't know why I'm doing all these reviews of the slower cars. We've only got 5 laps to go here. I want to try and go for another fastest lap, but we've got all these guys sat in the way. Hopefully once we get past the AlphaTauri and the Haas, we can go for one more flyer. Coming on to lap 26, then 3 to go here from the Circuit of the Americas. Let's see if we can set one more quick lap here before this race ends. I think we're going to struggle to set a new PB. I'll be honest, it seems like the tyres are very, very much falling off towards the end of this race. You can just see the understeer and oversteer through the first corner there. All the best kind of things to have in your Formula 1 Grand Prix car as we head through the S's. Still always feels planted through here when you get it hooked up. That's not going to be the line through there though, and I think that lap is already over. Yeah, I think the tyres are definitely past their best in this Grand Prix, but we have got a 41-second margin to Max Verstappen there, just behind, who's still just hanging on in front of Lewis Hamilton for P2 here. It's like a titanic battle between the Ferrari and the Mercedes there, as Esteban Ocon maybe is having issues. I'm not too sure. I just saw that gap jump up by a fair few seconds there. But yeah, only one Ferrari, one Mercedes and one Red Bull within a minute of ourselves here, but just over 2 to go. Let's just see the checkered flag. Coming on then to the final lap of this US Grand Prix. You can see Hamilton now has actually got the jump on Verstappen and is starting to romp away from his Ferrari rival. He's basically spent the entire Grand Prix sat behind him since the pit stop windows, but he's finally made the move work with just 2 laps to go here. Unless something catastrophic goes wrong for ourselves though, we are looking very, very comfortable out in front there. Almost a 50-second lead now over Lewis Hamilton. And just take into account, obviously, at the end of what, lap 7, lap 8? We were still behind the safety car. So really, yeah, we pulled out all that time in about 20-21 laps here. You know, like I've said in many, many times before, we have to just enjoy how dominant this car is, because come next season, I don't think it's going to be the same. And especially after George Russell's retirement from this Grand Prix, we're definitely going to have to put some focus into keeping all the durability upgrades we've got on the car as well. Otherwise, next year, that could cost us a lot of potential points. But anyway, down in towards the final sector then of the US Grand Prix. We've got a huge train of cars just getting in the way. I'll be honest, I really want to try and lap Charles Leclerc here in the dying stages of this race. Up the inside of Carlos Sainz. Maybe we didn't need to take a big gamble like we just did there, but we got past the McLaren driver as well. In towards the final 2 corners then of this race. It's been made remarkably easy for us, just due to George Russell's demise early on in this Grand Prix. But a win is a win at the end of the day, and we will take the 26 points here from Kota.
That's a race win. You've really been great today.
That's a spectacular victory then, and with it, the championship is secure. It's been a magnificent season, and they thoroughly deserve the cheers of the crowd here today. So, Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
Well, the safety car completely changed the race, didn't it? It's hard to say exactly what would have happened without it, but there's no question that they came out of that situation in a good position.
The faces on our top 3 look so incredibly happy as they make their way up to the podium. A much-deserved victory and a brilliant performance from them all. Let's see what effect this result has had on the drivers' standings. Mr. Monaco increases their championship lead. So, Anthony Davidson, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, I'm not really too sure what Hamilton did to warrant driver of the day there. He really had the second fastest car all weekend, and when George Russell fell to the wayside, P2 was pretty much always going to be his, in my personal opinion there. But there we go, we'll let Crofty and Anthony Davidson have their moment nonetheless. Fastest lap by 3 seconds, but it is the race victory, the full 26 points, a winning margin of just shy of 50 seconds there as well. It's everything we needed from the US Grand Prix. They're lapping all the way up to 11th place as well. They're in just 20 laps, obviously, after the safety car there. But there were quite a few guys that probably deserved driver of the day. Raikkonen and Bottas from 6th on the 6th and 7th, from 10th and 14th on the grid there. Danny Kvyat 22nd to 12th as well. Certainly deserved a shout out from that Grand Prix. I don't think there were any other major movers over the course of that race, apart from one man going from first to last there. Poor old George Russell out of the Grand Prix there, and that really, really does put a huge dampening on his World Championship battle as well there. In terms of the Drivers' World Championship, the gap suddenly opens up to 41 points over our teammate there after that disappointing result for, well, lack of result even, I should say, for George Russell there. 3 races to go. He needs an absolute miracle now if he wants to win the World Championship. We basically need, what, 1/3 and 2/4 places now to win the World Championship, even if George wins all 3 races. Looking fairly good at the moment, but we will have to take some grid penalties, I would have thought, ready for Mexico. We did it last season. It was actually a strategy gamble that really played off for us as well. Hamilton now safe 8 points ahead of Verstappen and Bottas, as that championship battle is still definitely one to be watching for at the end of the year there. That really good result for Raikkonen moves himself up past Lance Stroll as well there, but no other movers in the Drivers' World Championship there. And constructors-wise, though, Mercedes still looking pretty comfortable ahead of Ferrari and Red Bull there. I think there's really no opportunities now, unless someone gets a miracle, for some changes there. Most people looking pretty set in stone with 3 races to go of the season there. But thank you all so much for watching this video nonetheless. Make sure you get yourself subscribed if you're new around here as well. Can we not bottle it in the final 3 races of the season and make ourselves a 2-time Formula 1 World Champion? You guys will have to find out next time, where we return to Mexico. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips, as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.